Hey everyone, it's Sticks here, and today I'm going to be talking about a bit of a issue in League of Legends. I guess it's not really an issue necessarily. I don't think everyone thinks it's an issue, but I think it's an issue, and that is the rank distribution in League at the moment. Um, mostly Diamond is what I'm going to be talking about, and Diamonds. If you look at the distribution, you'll see that almost 2/3 of players in Diamond are in Diamond 5. The vast majority of players in Diamond are in D5. It's a similar thing in the other elos for the most part. I mean, these lower brackets are a bit different. I mean, bronze you have less players in Bronze 5 than Bronze 1, but as you go further up, the amount of players within a tier will be majority in the lower divisions, which it kind of makes sense when you think about it in terms of the entire player distribution, where you could be like, okay, we want lots of players in bronze and silver, and then, you know, only a small percent get to higher ranks like diamond, etc. But when you look at the individual tiers, with the amount of D1 players compared to D5 players is ridiculous. It's tiny. And the reason I think this is an issue, right, is because the area where there's like a huge majority of players, you can't differentiate the skill between these players. They're all just in this low diamond clusterfuck. And the problem is, players who hit this elo, they generally get stuck there for a while. Most players who climb to higher ranks, the biggest hurdle is low diamond. Everyone's just sort of fucking stuck in this fuckfest D5, right? And I'm not saying you can't improve and get better and get out, obviously. Obviously you can. But I think that there needs to be more incentive to play at those ranks, because most of those players are going to be playing hundreds of games and they're not really going to see much progress. You know, maybe they get to D4, maybe they get to D3 peak, whatever. But the actual progress they're making is really tiny. When you look at high diamond, there's such a narrow amount of players in high diamond. And so the actual skill gap, I feel like, between, you know, D1, D2 is going to be much smaller than the skill gap between D5 and D4, for example. Now, I talked about this on my stream, and I'm going to be drawing some more graphs. So basically what this looks like is something like this. You can see the majority of players, these are D5 right here. Then, you know, D4, D3, D2, D1. You got this graph right here. And I don't think that the tiers should look like this, in my opinion. I think, okay, the higher division should have less players, sure. But the huge populations of players should at least be spread out a bit more. You shouldn't have all of the players in D5. It's just a limit, right? Riot just cramped so many players into D5. It's actually a joke. And they are, like, addressing this in the new season. I think they're making a new tier, which I think it's going to be kind of like the D5 tier, because there's areas where there's huge player population. So they're adding 2 new tiers. I think it's like one's going to be in about silver area. One's probably going to be in D5 area. But the thing is, if Riot make these tiers like the tiers currently are, you'll probably see the same problem, and you're still going to have these like tier 5s, or these division 5s, or division 4, because they're removing a tier. They're removing a division per tier. You're going to have these division 4s, which just have huge player bases, right? Which I think you should be able to see. I think your rank should be more a representation of where you are based on the rest of the player base, in my opinion. I think that's a good ranking system. So there's two. So I have 2 solutions to this problem. I mean, the first one's pretty simple, which is lower the barrier to being able to get demoted. Currently, if you a D5 0 LP, you need to be Plat 5 MMR to get demoted. You have to be an entire tier below to get demoted. And I think demotion shielding is good. I don't think players should, you know, because obviously getting to D5 is a huge milestone, maybe go on a loss streak. I think being shielded from demotion is a good thing, right? You know, because you earn your rank, you get to keep it for a bit. You know, you have to really do terribly to get demoted. But I don't think it should be that severe. Because the thing is, once you do get demoted, you're just going to drop. Your MMR is going to be so much lower than your rank that your LP gains are going to be terrible. And it's pretty much going to end up being the same as if you were demoted earlier anyways. And so what sort of ends up happening is you have an insane amount of Diamond 5 players who have lower than D5 MMR. I don't know the exact amount. I assume it's probably like half of Diamond 5 probably has Plat MMR. And you see that all the time. There's D5 players who get no LP per game, or they get extremely low and they lose a lot more LP than they gain. And I always have people come in my stream complaining, oh, how can I get out of D5? Like, I gain 10 LP and I lose 20. Well, that's because your MMR is in Plat. You should be demoted. You're shielded from demotion. If you're winning you should be winning majority of your games in Plat, you know? Like, you could be, people are like, oh, I won, 60% of my games. How am I not going up? But it's like, you're winning, you have to keep that consistency to go up to fix your MMR before you're going to actually climb, right? And I think it's better off for these players if they actually can see, like, their real rank, essentially. Instead of just being D5, and then they're demotivated to play because they're getting no LP, and it's like, what's the point of playing, you know? If they at least got demoted, they'll be like, oh, okay, now I can, try and get back to Diamond 5, and I can see my progress. Because my rank is more in line with my MMR. Now, the second thing, so I think upping the bar of getting demoted, maybe to like, maybe half it, maybe make it so you need about Plat 3 MMR to get demoted. Maybe, I don't know exact good number, but I think at the moment it's definitely too low. You definitely need too little MMR to get demoted. Now, my next solution is something a little bit different, and that is to make the higher tiers effectively bigger tiers, right? And there's two ways you can sort of do this. Either you make LP gains and losses lower at higher tiers, and make it faster at lower tiers. So for example, usually you're getting about 20 LP in all these tiers. Maybe change that so it looks more like this, where you're getting maybe 25 LP per win average, or like 20 in low tiers, and then in high tiers, you're getting 10 LP loss or win average. That, like, make the LP gains. So what effect, or you can just make it that the actual divisions require different amounts of LP to get to promotional series. I think that's a better idea. I think that, they could make D1 require 200 LP to get to promos. D1 requires 200, D2 requires 150, 100, 100, whatever. Maybe they up maybe, obviously that means it's going to take a lot more LP to get from D5 to Masters, but maybe they could, they just up the LP gains a bit, and voila, now you can get out of low elo a bit easier, but you're going to still have to travel the same distance to get to Master Tier. So the players are going to get distributed out a bit more evenly. And another thing I really like about this system is that in the current system, it is super easy to go from like D1 to about D3. You don't have to lose very many games to go down either. With a system like this, effectively what you're doing, let me just get rid of all this stuff. Effectively what you're doing is you're changing the length of all the divisions, right? So it might look something a bit more like this, Something a bit more like this. So D1 could be twice as wide as D5, for example. If you want 200 LP to get through D1, it could be twice the distance. And what this means is that if you're in higher rank, it's going to take a lot more games to advance, but it's also going to take a lot more games to demote. You have more of a safety net in these high rank games. And, especially in Oceania, we don't even have a master tier, right? We do, but it's tiny. It's like, I think we have, I don't know, I could whip it up. I don't know the exact amount, but it's There's probably like 50 players. We have, 200 Chell players. We probably have about 50 Master Tier players. It's nothing. It's nilch. So, like, you could go from Chell to, like, mid-diamond in barely any losses. Like, I'm not even kidding. You can be probably, like, what? Probably, like, 10, 20 losses in a row. If you're at the bottom of Chell and O's, which is, like, what, like 50 LP or something like that gets you in a Chell, you can lose... You probably lose 15 games in a row, and you'd probably be D2, D3-ish. Like, all the lower tier players get bumped up, but all the high... I mean, even the high players technically get bumped up in the system as well. But the thing is, once you get to D1, it's not just like you get a 5-win streak, luckily. It's going to take a lot more of a grind to get to Masters, which I think is a more rewarding system, personally. Back in the day, the old Chell system was pretty terrible, where it was 200 players, and then to get into Chell, you had to kick someone out. That was a shit system. The Master Tier system is much better than that, but when they changed it, they effectively, because they have this Master Tier system, which is like a safety net, so you can always guarantee the top 200 players are in Chell, based on LP. They also made it, it's a lot easier to get into Master Tier. Whereas, before getting into Chell, there'd be people in high diamond, because it was really competitive, they'd be getting almost no LP gains. They'd be getting a few LP per win in high diamond, which makes getting through high diamonds a lot more difficult than getting through low diamond, which I think it should be. I think getting to higher ranks should be easier, but going through the higher ranks to getting to Master Tier should be more of a grind, more of a journey. So I just wanted to share my thoughts on the rank distribution problem. Share your thoughts in the comments, and yeah, thanks for watching.